Okay, well, hello again, friends and followers. So, here's a project that came in unexpectedly. I sold a Tempo 1 to a guy named Scott, and UPS smashed it all up. So, his intention was really to take parts from that radio and fix this radio. So, he asked if I would fix this radio, and I felt kind of bad about the transaction on eBay. So I said, sure, I'll fix the radio. So Scott sent the radio to me. So tonight I've been working on this radio, and I'll tell you what I did to it to get it working again. So when the radio came in, it had no receive audio at all, and I found that this tube back here, which is the audio amplifier, has capacitors here. These are really 33 microfarads at about 16 volts, and these are the AC bypass capacitors for the cathode. Anyway, when those get leaky, this tube overheats and it vaporizes the tube. So the tube was almost dead. There was really no static or anything coming out of this thing. So I replaced this tube from a spare radio I have here, and that brought back the receiver somewhat. I also found that these potentiometers were dirty for the receiver. The ABC potentiometer, which is, I think that one was dirty, cleaned it up. The sensitivity pot was also bad, which is right here. I cleaned that one up. And that brought back some marginal receive. But what was really bad was, I'm not sure if I swapped these two tubes. This should be a 6BA6 right here, and this is a 12BZ6. These were swapped, and the radio still ran, so I'm not sure if I swapped those or someone else did, but I swapped those finally to get the receiver back into proper operating operation. I couldn't seem to get the S meter zero and all that. Now, the other big problem with this radio was when Scott plugged this thing into a power supply, and here's a power supply here for one of these radios, which is a Henry Tempo 1, he would blow the fuse on the power supply. And the reason for that was these finals need about 109 volts of negative bias to remain on and not drawing current. And so these finals had zero bias on them. And that's because the bias potentiometer, which is this one here, has a resistor on the bottom with a wire that goes to a network down here, and that wire was broken off down below. Somebody was cowboying around in there, and that was the issue. So once that wire was restored, these pair of finals worked fine. So I put the original Toshiba finals back in this radio that Scott had in here, and apparently his power supply, by blowing the fuse, saved his finals because they're fine. So they're back in here and working well. So that's about it. I lined this thing up so that it will work properly on all bands. And I want to put in some of my usual white LEDs instead of these awful looking ones, which I had laying around, but I ran out of the ones I usually put in here. So I ordered those, and they'll be here tomorrow. And anyway, let's go through the radio now. So on 80 meters, you can go to SSB now. Oh, and I cleaned up the front. I took off all these knobs, cleaned them up, cleaned the whole face of this thing off, just cleaned everything off, and got the radio into a proper looking radio that would be fun to operate. So that's what I did tonight. Now we can go to tune mode. I also fixed the CW side tone, which acts also as the balance modulator test tone to make the tune position work. So in tune, it's only going to work in tune with the mic gain if the CW side tone is working. And I just had to get that pot cleaned up on the bottom of the radio to get on a little board to get that working. And that's common with all these things that I get into mess with, so I fixed that. So anyway, what that means is the radio works pretty much normally now. And go to tune here now, and we're on 80 meters. And the way you calibrate these is you always start off at 250. So you want to get this thing down to 250. And there's 250 right there, I think. That's 350. Darn it. 250, where are you? Okay, there's 250 right there. So 250, and if you keep the grid right smack 12 straight up, this should always resonate right there. And if that works, you know you're in the ballpark with how the book tunes this thing. So here's what I'm talking about. You go to mic 0 here, take the mic all the way down to nothing, tune mode, go to operate, and you'll see a little bit of bias there. That might be too much actually. Anyway, crank the gain up and you should see some pretty good gain here. I'm seeing a little bit of gain on the, oh, that's power. Okay, there we go. There's the plate. So I'm seeing a lot of plate there. A lot of plate, too much plate actually. Anyway, you can crank this thing down to 80 meters right about there. I get this thing calibrated and put the loading up and hit it with a dip. There's the dip. Look at power out. A lot of power out of these tubes. So these are really good tubes. That's probably 100 watts right there. I'd peak it. There you go. So that 80 meters, this thing works like a champ. And it's all calibrated right there. Now, we'll go to 40 meters and 250 is still in the band. Anybody yapping on here? No one's talking, so I'm not going to wipe anybody out. And again, the grid should be straight up for it to resonate and go to operate now in tune mode. And what do I see? Nothing, because there, now I'm on current. And there's really no bias on this thing, and I'm not sure why. Maybe the bias control back there is still messed up, but I couldn't get any bias out of it. But the radio works nonetheless, so here we are, and I'll give it some gain now. There's some gain. I'll peak this thing for grid. It's peaked, so it's perfectly aligned the way it should be. Now, move this thing to 7 and go for a dip. There should be a dip. There's one right there. So this thing is really lined up pretty nice. Good power output there. And we'll tune for a little more power out here. A little more. Unload it a little more so it doesn't care. It likes to be loaded. All right, so that's 40 meters. I can just crank it up a little bit and see how much power comes out. Okay, give it a real hard little juice here. That's about 100 watts, so I'm gonna take that. That's really good. All right, let's move on to 20 meters. There's 20 meters right there. Again, we're at 250, so the thing should peak right there. Give it a little bit of mic gain now. Move that toward 20. 20 likes about halfway loaded, so do that. And hit it. And look at that, it just responds. So back this off a bit. Peak it for grid. The grid is right smack on where it should be because we're at 250. Okay, now we're gonna do a dip. There's a dip right there. What's it? Wait a minute, like that. Now we'll go for a dip. Yeah, it's a little off. I should change that a little bit. It's a little bit off. Anyway, let's go for power out. Power out looks pretty good. Wow, it's got a lot of power. So this radio is the best one I've ever experienced as far as power on these bands. All right, 15 meters is last, and I'm on tune. Grid's fine. A little bit of, okay, a little bit of, whoa, way too much. Let's back this off. Still way too much. This doesn't seem to back off, unfortunately. Too much audio. Let's go for a quick dip. There's a dip. A little less gain there. Boy, that's a lot of power. Okay, let's see what's coming out. Tune that. Tune that. Wow, this thing works good. Tune that. Okay, I don't want to burn this thing up, so turn it off. I don't like the fact that I can't get this thing knocked down to a smaller value for tuning it. I guess I could take the grid down a bit. Not sure why it does that yet. Not sure I want to fix that, but all right, and that leaves 10 meters. So there's 10 right there. I'm not sure what band this is because some CB guy got in here and screwed everything around. So anyway, we don't worry about CB here. So we're on the ham bend, and I'm going to again peak this thing up for some drive here. Go back to plate current, go for drive. Okay, there's some drive. See the drive there? A little more mic there. There's some drive. Let's peak it, or dip it. We got a dip. Okay, it'll dip. Let's see what we got for power out. Not much. Let's fiddle with that a little bit. Okay, let's fiddle with loading a little bit. Okay, 10 doesn't like load. Let's go way back. Not too much. Let's go right back there. You can see how I'm turning it off and on to conserve the finals. Okay, give it one big blast. Not much power on 10, unfortunately. Let's see, how much plate current do we have here? Not much. Okay, tune this for max. Tune that for max. There's not much drive on 10. Why would that be? I guess the CB people have mucked around with it, and I'm not going to muck with 10. Just 10 is the way it is, so I'll let the owner worry about that. Okay, so I think that concludes everything. What else did I want to show? Oh yeah, we should check the SSB part of it. So for SSB, let's go back to 40. I've checked CW and that works. So now we're on 40 meters and around 250. Back to 40, we're on tune. It should fire up now. It's not. Little gain there. Okay, there's my signal, there's my drive. Let's go for a dip here. There's my dip. Power out in 40, give it more load. Okay, there's power out in 40. And now 40 is all tuned up. So if I can find the elusive microphone, we can test this thing real quick. I saw the microphone today. If you see a cord, it's a microphone. There's a microphone right there. This is a mic that works on these radios. Let's plug it in and see what happens. Okay, microphone goes in here. And turn the mic gain up, go on sideband, operate, and it's ready to go. Okay, we're on power out mode here. KV3 whiskey, and we got nothing. So that could be an issue that I gotta fix. Test 1, 2. Do we have any grid here? Test, 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 test. Okay, so that's not working. And if I see that not working, here's my fix for that. That's probably the balance modulator pot is messed up. So we'll fix that right now. That's something I didn't touch. That's right here, carrier balance. Hit that with some detoxer. Give it a swirl here. I'm just gonna swap this thing back and forth like that. Give it some more squirt, squirt. And hit it again. This will probably fix it, but who knows? Okay, well, I guess the radio is not going out tomorrow, is it? Right about there is where it was. Power up. And let's see what it does. Okay, mic's on. Guess I could squirt some stuff in the microphone too, right? Haven't done that yet. Swirl that around a bit. Okay. Now, how are we doing here? Sideband's up. Volume's up. We got sideband mode. Microphone. Let's nail it. And operate. That drives me crazy when this thing won't operate. Okay, let's see. Let's first of all check our drive here. Let's go microphone down. Tune mode. Power. Okay, play current. Let's do a tune on this thing. We're tuning, I think. Yeah, we are. Okay, we got gobs of drive. Okay, so this thing should go. All right, mic gain full, sideband mode, operate mode, and it should go. Let's take a look. Test, test, test. Nope, we're dead in the water, and that's probably a bad or wrong tube and where the modulator goes. So almost got a cigar. This radio is almost done. It's very close. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day.